Hello, my name is Greg Stolzer. I'm a Euclid parent and volunteer, and I'd like to continue our conversation about Euclid School and how Euclid creates opportunities for all students. And in this video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at our demographic group breakouts. So we like to say that Euclid is proudly diverse and stronger because of that diversity, and like to elaborate on that statement. Well, so Euclid is proudly diverse, and we've been diverse for a long time. We are one of the most diverse schools in the area. For this current school year, we have around 500 students, and you see our demographic percentages listed here on screen. We are one of the few schools in the area that do not have any majority groups. So we have students from all kinds of different backgrounds coming here and having a lot of success at Euclid. One thing in particular I'd like to point out is the number of home languages spoken. Our students are coming from diverse linguistic backgrounds. We have around 29 different family languages that our students are coming from. So we have a number of students who are bilingual and trilingual, and we certainly feel like that's going to be a great benefit for them as they move through the school system and into careers. We are economically diverse as well. We're just over half of our students qualify for government assistance with free or reduced meals at school. And as I mentioned, we are linguistically diverse as well. Approximately 39% of our kids receive some level of support for English language learning, meaning they come from families where English is not the primary language spoken at home. So the second half of the statement, and stronger because of that diversity, that really comes from the educational approach that Euclid has taken for quite some time. And it centers around this educational concept called universal design for learning. And this is a newer concept in education, but it's not difficult really to understand. And the whole idea is that when you remove barriers, educational barriers for high need learners in the classroom, and those high need learners could be English language learners, learners who have special needs, or learners who are gifted, you're removing barriers for all learners. So at Euclid is fantastic at removing barriers in instruction, providing flexibility for learning, and that means all students have the opportunity for great success and high achievement. And I'd like to show you more data to support that. So I'm going to be having a number of different comparison groups as I move through my presentation. One is I've got 25 schools listed here from the immediate area that I am comparing Euclid to. So this is the area school average you'll see me reference. And then I also look at 12 schools out of those 25 that have at least 10% of their population qualifying for government assistance for free or reduced meals. And this is what I'm calling the economically diverse schools average. So you'll see this referenced as well. So let's start with Euclid and their overall test scores from the 2016 PARCC. So this past spring, we had 47.3% of Euclid students meet or exceed state standards. This is certainly higher than the state average, which was 34%. So in Illinois, out of all Illinois students, approximately 34% of them met or exceeded state standards. You might have seen one of my other videos where I talk about the Daily Herald's comparison for schools. And in that comparison, they compared schools to other schools, to peer schools that look similar to them in terms of economic diversity. And for Euclid, there are 354 schools in Illinois that have similar levels of economic diversity as Euclid does. And out of those 354 schools, we scored in the top 4% for this past PARCC spring 2016 testing. And we like to believe that refers to school, that really comes back to school effectiveness. And Euclid had the highest Daily Herald index score for 2016 in the area. Our index score is 1.79. And we have the highest 5-year average as well out of area schools, 1.10. So Euclid is a highly effective educational institution. For our Hispanic students, approximately 25% of Euclid Hispanic students met or exceeded state standards. The area average for economically diverse schools, it was 24%. And the state average, so of all Hispanic students in Illinois, 22% of them met or exceeded state standards. And I will point out that of mentioned earlier the Daily Herald Tier 6 average. So those are 354 schools that have similar economic diversity to Euclid. In that group of schools, when you look at the Hispanic average, it's 20.7% of students meeting or exceeding state standards. So Euclid is doing a good job of supporting our Hispanic students. And I will point out that our Hispanic population makes up the majority of our English language learning population. So for a number of these of students that identify as Hispanic, they are coming from non-English speaking backgrounds, but they have to take the PARCC in English when they are in third grade. So these students are getting support in Euclid for their language needs, and sometimes they may be in their own separate classroom. Other times they may have pull-out services or be supported within the regular classroom for those English language learning needs. For our students that identify as white, so 59% of those students met or exceeded state standards. The area school average for the 25 schools I mentioned earlier is 57%. So we're just above averages there. The area average for economically diverse schools is 53%. The state average for white students is 40%. And I will point out there are 8 Mount Prospect elementary schools, and we are, for our white students, they are number 2 on that list. So the second highest scoring school when you look at students identifying as white. For our Asian students, 66% of them met or exceeded state standards, and that is right in line with the area school average, and it's just above the area economically diverse schools average and a little bit above the state average as well. So our Asian students are performing highly as well. And then for our low-income students, so students that are qualifying for government assistance with meals, having free or reduced meals, 28% of our students that fall into this category met or exceeded state standards. This is basically in line with the area average for students receiving government assistance, and it's certainly higher than the state average for students in Illinois who receive government assistance. Now, this is the group that I like to focus on because it accounts for income and the impacts that income can have on student achievement. So when you look at students at Euclid that do not come from low-income backgrounds, so these are students that do not receive government assistance, 67% of our not low-income students met or exceeded state standards. This is significantly higher than the area school average of 59%, and definitely higher than the economically diverse schools average in the area. The 45% is the state average, and we are the top ranking Mount Prospect school when you are looking at comparisons for not low income students among those 8 schools. And I will also point out that we're in the top 1/3 of the 25 area schools. And as I mentioned, this, I believe, is the most fair comparison group when you're looking at schools, because it's the best way to control for family income. And just to elaborate a little bit more on that, I looked at a suburban Chicago not low income average as well. And this is made up of around 325 Chicago area elementary schools that look very similar to Euclid in terms of they include grades 3, 4, and 5. Only in their PARCC scores. And I looked at the average of the PARCC scores from 2015 and 2016. The suburban average meet or exceed percentage is 56.2. Euclid's average is 64.5 for the 2 years that we have had PARCC testing. Euclid scores in the top 1/3 of all these 325 elementary schools. And these are primarily schools that are in the western and north suburbs. They feed into high schools that are generally well respected academically and have similar academic opportunities provided to its students. And just to add, for 2016 PARCC, we scored in the top 1/4 of these suburban schools when you look at our students that do not qualify for government assistance. So it shows that Euclid is doing a fantastic job, and it's just further data that shows that. As we like to say, or as the saying goes, a rising tide lifts all boats. And we certainly feel like that's the case at Euclid and with the Euclid effect. Good instruction benefits all students. Well, that's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, please send me an email.